Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another Brony Debates Live. I hope you're all doing well out there. We're going to get a good start to the weekend. We've got a pretty interesting topic tonight. We're going to continue this sort of Valentine's Day theming I've got going on this month between, last week's Monster Prom and today we're going to be talking about relationships on this Valentine's Day, Hearts and Hooves Day weekend. And joining me tonight, we've got the red team and the blue team, as you can tell by the thumbnail. I love it when this happens. I love it when the thumbnail just works out that I got a red corner and a blue corner. But on the red team, joining me, we've got Princess Heather Blossom, who suggested tonight's topic. How are you doing tonight?
I was trying so hard not to burp before this, but I'm doing great. Less gassy.
Yeah, we're on a lovely start to the stream here, Heather. And in the blue corner, we've got DJ Skywalker. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Bienvenue.
Ready to talk.
All right, you got to get a little bit better with that timing there. You got to have your
quicker.
Yeah, or maybe trim the handle off of it. Well, don't be distracted. Gosh darn it, we're live. We're doing it live.
Don't you have a burp sound effect? Like that would have been perfect.
No, I don't have that one.
And I would have been pissed.
I'll add it next time.
Yeah, that's the most basic of sound effects.
All right, and we got Cordero with us. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great.
All righty then. So, first and foremost, let me get the patron shout-outs out of the way. Very grateful to all of my generous supporters on Patreon, a bunch of which are joining me on the stream tonight. Especially those on the $10 and up tier. These are Princess Heather Blossom, who's with us, Shady Oak Ministries, and McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Senko, DJ Skywalker, Rein-Kun, Morningstar Pony, Cordero, who's with us. DJ Skywalker is also with us, yeah. QFlash, Billy Henline, Alden, MacManx, EasyModeGamer, Kanto, Acrylic VA, Mr. Sonic 31, Ridge the Hedgehog, Alicia, Lynette, Zeta Z, and Dark Malcontent, author of the Metaverse series. Check out all their links in the description. Heather just released a new sticker design today. Heather, tell us about that real quick.
You had to tell me when my mouth was full. So, just in time for the Valentine's Day season, I have released the next series in My Child Eevee.
All right.
Series of stickers. Its caption goes, "My child has 4 paws and nose charm." Can anyone guess which evolution can learn that attack?
The loving one. The love one.
Sylveon.
It's Vaporeon,
Yep,
obviously.
It's Sylveon. Sylveon. I have a sticker of Sylveon. It's so freaking cute. You gotta go to my
But I
Etsy
thought in
shop.
terms of reproduction, Vaporeon. No, I'm not going to
Okay. Great. Now everyone's gonna ask me to release Vaporeon. And I don't know if I want to go there.
Well,
but anyways,
you
it's super cute. It makes a little heart shape with its ribbons. Please go to my Etsy shop. It's a link in the description. And you can see that along with my Leafeon one. I released my first sticker earlier this week, I believe it was. And I released my favorite evolution first, Leafeon. So if you're more into grass types, I have that. And if you want to see any of the other evolutions, follow me on YouTube, Twitter, all those stuff, and the Etsy page. I'm going to be releasing more Eevee stickers. So stay tuned. I also crochet things if that's more your type.
Yeah, so if you guys want to support the channel, you can get Heather's merch, you can get my merch, you can join the Patreon or the Subscribe Star if you prefer. There's also a tip jar. If you want to have a message read out live by a robot, you can drop a tip in the jar and the little brawny on the bottom right there. Anyway, Heather, your full topic suggestion, which is too lengthy for a title, went something along the lines of how has modern media affected our expectations for relationships. So tell me about your suggestion here and what made you want to talk about that.
So, as it is the month of romance, I was trying to brainstorm some, romance-based topics. And one of the biggest things, and it's something that I learned through experience, is how the media makes you interpret relationships in a particular way, and you go into life expecting things almost to be like how you see them in the movies. Like, oh, people meet like this, people get married because of this, people get into relationships because of this, and it goes because of this. But in reality, it's all very contrary to what you see. And like as a young adult, you kind of learn where the lines between, reality and fiction are. So I'd like to talk about this because I want to relay my own experiences and the experiences of the gentleman in front of me, because society paints a different picture as what to expect for romance for men and women differently. So I want to see it's both bad, both very bad. They're very bad at what they do. There are better examples of romance these days and what to expect out of relationships and what healthy relationships look like. Look no further than Moxie and Millie and Hell of a Boss. They are I don't know. Season 2 could go crazy, but so far they're like the most wholesome of couples I've ever seen. And they're two demons in hell. So that goes to show how far we've gone. As before, we had such I don't know. I remember growing up with animes and stuff where romance was just crazy. You remember my favorite anime, School Rumble?
Yeah.
It was all over the place with people just not communicating about anything and not seeing what was directly in front of them. So with that, let's get started.
All right. So tell us what you have seen and how is it bad?
So as a girl growing up, for women, it looks like romance is just something that's expected to happen to you at some point. And it does, but, with the way media, I'm saying cartoons, nearly every other novel for young women is about romance, about getting a guy. And even if it has the bigger plot being oh, I want to get into this college, I want to be a fashion designer. There's always the subplot shoehorned in of getting a man on top of that. Romance is always shoehorned in everything women consume because that's what women are supposed to like. They're supposed to like romance. At the end of the day, yeah, you can have your career, you can have kids, you can have all this, that, and that, but you also must have a man. No matter what your overall goal is, a man's going to be on the side. And it had me thinking for the longest time growing up, oh, wow, as soon as I get into middle school, high school, there's going to be a whole bunch of romance and guys will start to notice me and I'll be going on dates and stuff. It made me think everything was just going to happen. I was going to get randomly asked out by someone eventually just because I crushed on them or something like that would happen. And it got me really frustrated when, I was waiting around through middle school and then through high school and nothing would just happen for me. And I think it led into some unhealthy habits because I would eventually turn to the internet, which is never good. I would turn to the internet, and on the internet, what I would expect to happen in real life sort of happened. I got a lot of male attention, and that felt like it was supposed to happen. So I went through such a long phase of dating nearly every guy I met on Xbox Live who gave me enough attention. That's not a really healthy place to be because I was just this person's showing me attention. Yes, it's the worst. It's the worst. And I stopped doing that. For the longest, I would go on okay, Heather, don't date someone on the internet again. And here I am living in a house with a guy I met on the internet. So I got into unhealthy habits because I was just romance is supposed to happen for me. Things are supposed to happen and then it'll be fun and everything will be great. But it led me into a lot of unhealthy relationships where you get emotionally manipulated because people aren't fully matured. People are just in it for one thing. People and your hormones get all mixed in with it, and it was all because of what had been fed to me that as soon as I'll be in a relationship, things will be exciting, things will be interesting, I'll be happy. I had a bunch of other problems, so I thought this was going to solve them all, apparently, thinking back. But yeah, that's kind of the strokes that led me to going into those habits. And I really just had to set myself straight and be no, that's not how it works. Sure, it's okay to want a relationship and to want things to happen, but you have to be fulfilled yourself as a person before you really go looking for something in someone else, which isn't really talked about. Well, at least it's starting to have it has a starting point quite recently with people being hey, we got to work on becoming more realized people before we start going into all the romantical stuff. I think I don't know what I can say about modern cartoons if they're really trying to illustrate that point more with children being hey, make sure you have yourself figured out before you get into all this awkward romance that we try to advertise to you. Probably not, because that's not marketable.
That's pretty interesting. I want to hear the other side of it because what you guys had mentioned before the stream is that there's two sides to this issue, those being gendered sides. And I'm going to be honest here. I don't have a lot of experience with romance. I've got Heather, and I've got one before her. That's it. And so far, Heather and I are working out pretty good. And the one before that I thought was okay until it really freaking wasn't. So, Cordero, tell me the male side of this.
Yes. So I agree, or at least I had the same observation that women tend to be told, or little girls tend to be told, hey, just be pretty and the boys will come. And conversely, men are told that, or boys are told that all of the proactivity is on you. Like the onus is on you. You have to go out and get it. You have to go out and get the girl to like you. And by the way, if you don't, you're worthless, is the implication or the subtext of that. Like if you do not, they tell a similar thing to girls, like, hey, if you don't have a guy, you know, that's basically the end of your life. And they say the same thing to men, but it also says that if you don't go get her, it's your fault. You have messed up. And modern media also emphasized this idea along these lines of the large romantic gesture. And this is the most dangerous idea that it puts into young men's mind, is the idea that the way you get women is with some sort of large romantic gesture. And boys will try to copy these ideas or do something like that, and it just blows up in their face. And reality just smacks them with, that's not how people work. That's not how reality works. Like, what's the movie where the guy holds up the speaker?
Oh, which one?
I don't know, man.
Because that's a whole trope, yeah. That's
a meme. That's a specific movie where the guy holds up the speaker and is playing like their song or something, and then she just comes out of the house.
Easy A?
Like an Easy A? What?
Easy A was like another movie that just took the trope.
Oh yeah, because that's a trope because of that one movie that did that. But it's part of the larger trope of the large romantic gesture where you do some sort of like big over the top thing, and that's what tips the girl over. That's what finally gets her in the end or whatever. And also it gives this, like, it puts these harmful ideas in men's head or young men's head that if she's telling you no, she's just playing coy, or she's just playing hard to get. Like, that's her role. She's supposed to turn you down 5 times, and then at the end of in the third act of the movie, you get her with the giant speaker or with the large romantic gesture. And like I said, this happened to me when I was a young man. Like, I would go for these large romantic gestures, and I wouldn't take the hint that these girls were not into me, because the movie says that yeah, she'll say no for a while, but eventually she'll say yes if you just keep going for it. And fortunately for me, I never committed a sex crime, but like this is why it's dangerous, is because you put this idea in men's head that you just have to keep trying, and it causes young boys to just ignore reality and have these delusional ideas in their head of what romance is. And it's more dangerous on the male side than on the woman side, I think, as in you're leading boys down a more astray to do something dangerous. So it's more dangerous for girls in the sense that something bad could happen to them if enough young boys are led to do something stupid.
So I have a thought I'd like to add to that, and then I have a question. But before the question, I want to hear from DJ. Not only that, but that, I think, is what helps create a lot of like the typical incel type of behavior, and we all know what I mean by that.
I was
and
thinking it.
You get well, yeah. Go ahead, think it. It's true. These guys have gotten dejected and rejected so many times because they don't understand. They were never taught how to be genuine people and to work on themselves, and so they just project all of that on the outside. It's, and it's everybody else's fault that I don't have what I want. And yeah, so that's very dangerous there. I've seen it be, I'm debating with myself at the moment of whether or not it actually is more harmful to men, because I've seen a different but equal sort of effect on women where they sort of...
Well, young men are the ones getting twisted, but young women are the ones that are gonna have like the crimes committed against them if these young men have perverted ideas of how romance works.
Yeah, it's
I think
toxic
you're
ideals all the way around.
I think you're right, and I think well, women definitely get twisted too, but it's like I said, it's a different it's a different type
Oh no,
of
yeah, we've been led on to do toxic things, like where he's just like, okay, if he doesn't like you, maybe you should like to also kind of do gestures, but like also don't directly tell him how you feel, because if you have to like be direct with him, guys don't like that, or like make sure you bring him cupcakes every day, and maybe eventually he'll get it, or just emotional manipulative tactics to get what you want instead of just using direct communication. That's why it can be so difficult to communicate sometimes, because no one really, like, someone has to go out of their way to instill that in young people, otherwise they don't learn it, because everyone, like, everything else is telling you, like, no, you have to hint, you have to imply. That's why we get the stereotypes of like women never tell you what they want.
Okay. DJ, what do you think about all of this?
Maybe it's just from my lack of media experience in this one. Usually the media I've experienced, people are already in a relationship, so I'm not familiar with a lot of the tropes that initially lead to a relationship. I'm usually seeing like ones where the relationships are always, there's fights. That's basically it. They're always just fights. A lot of the media I've seen is like, why do these people love each other when all they do is shout and yell at each other?
What media have you seen where this is prevalent? Because I've got some ideas in my head, but
that's a common trope.
Yeah. Like your typical Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad type of thing. Cleveland Show. I mean, I just listed 3 shows that were by the same person. But they've got all that in. I mean, Heather and I really like that 70s show. And that they're always fighting with each other there, but that's the high schoolers, and then the adults are either just arguing constantly or cheating on each other. And
hey, not in that 70s show.
Well, not
freaking Kitty and Red are goals.
Kitty and Red. Well, Kitty and Red argued a lot too. But in a very like old married couple kind of way. It was Donna's parents that couldn't keep their business clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what else was going? So those are the, but yeah, DJ's right. It's like, why are these? But that sort of segues me into the question that I had of both, dealing with people in media that are already in relationships and they're just constantly fighting with each other and they hate each other, or dealing with people who are trying to get relationships and you've got the men. Doing these grandiose gestures, and the women are supposed to just sit back and let the attention come to them. What is the cause of the problem here? Is it the media, or is it the culture that's getting reflected by the media? I'm asking a chicken and egg question. What do you guys think?
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I would probably say that the media is reflecting like a caricature of what our romance is, because I do have to acknowledge the fact that for the most part of history it was a male dominated society, and women didn't have a say really in what relationships they got what was brought to them, whatever guys decided to make the first move, or make a plea for their hand and court them. Like you have to just accept what's given to you, and men were the dominant ones who had to do that. The media is reflecting a caricature that's wholly outdated, because we clearly don't have to follow those standards anymore. Like, look at our relationship. I made the first move and here we are. It's a reflection of like the old society, and like some of the tropes might persist only because we keep regurgitating them again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you're saying, Heather is saying that the media is causing this in the culture. Did I hear you correctly?
In a way, it's reflecting an old reflection of what our society used to be like, and still perpetuating stereotypes that we're just now trying to start to break. So, in a way, yes, kind of both.
Okay. And Cordero, what do you think about the question?
I'll also take the media side of the chicken and the egg. Is the media the chicken or the egg?
it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of like which came first, the culture
I'm gonna say
or the
I'm gonna
media's
say the
reflection of it.
media. Gotcha. I'm gonna say the media is the chicken, and the culture is the egg. I think the chicken came first. And here's how it works from a aspiring writer storyteller perspective. So basically, good writers want to tell good stories, and large romantic gestures are dramatic. You can tell a good story with large romantic gestures. So good writers wrote stories that had large romantic gestures in the third act, which resulted in the romance working out, and people liked it. Audiences responded to that. But here's what happens whenever good writers latch on to something that works. Fakers will show up and write shitty versions of it without understanding why it worked, and that's what we call a cliche. When something becomes a cliche, that means it was a good idea and a good technique that landed with audiences and worked for a long time, but now the magic of what made it work is lost, or it's so overdone that when people think of the cliche, they only think of the crappy ones, the crappy versions that do it. So basically, we end up with a cliche of the large romantic gesture done by shitty writers or shittier writers, and then that impacts the public at large because the cliche is so prevalent.
Interesting. DJ, in terms of media portrayals of couples that are already together and just tumultuous constantly, what do you think came first, the media's portrayal of it or society?
I definitely don't think it was society. I think it was maybe someone had that experience growing up and probably assumed it was everyone, and so that turned into media because of writer's personal experience, and now that's become the expectation between marriages, because now you have like the classic lines of, oh, marriage is horrible, the old ball and chain, am I right? Ha ha ha. This is like it, because it goes really far back to like even black and white sitcoms where that's been a thing, and I think it was just a few people's experiences that got cemented in the media they created, and as such has just continued rolling around through our timeline, where now people just think that's all it is, when there's other ways to write relationships where they don't have to hate each other. Relationships can still go through strife, but that doesn't have to mean that the relationship is the strife, which seems to be what a lot of these, especially adult cartoon writers, seem to be stuck on.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot too. I'm reminded of back in 2015 when I did a Buck to the Face episode for an episode of the famous Mr. Ed, is what it was. And that was like 3 times in that video I pointed out, gosh darn, people just hate their wives in in this show. Like, what is it with everybody? Like the main character hated his wife. They were constantly like disagreeing with each other and going against each other's wishes. The neighbors, who was like an older couple next door, they were like to each other's face, just saying how much they don't like living together. And I'm like, holy heck, why does everybody hate their wife? I think it's more of a societal thing. And then the media sort of caricaturizes it, especially when you're dealing with like Hollywood types that are so very disconnected from reality that all they can really do is caricaturize what they think a normal relationship is. But I have seen in my own life men and women living out these stereotypes of, like in women's side of being very entitled to all of the treatment in the relationship, get all of the gifts. And, my man needs to be stable and the best looking and have a lot of money. And I bring myself to the table. and then men thinking that they have to be that, and thinking that they need the grandiose gestures. When I hear women talk about, they might be interested in somebody, but they're going to wait until they make the first move, it's never connected that they got that habit from TV or anything like that. It seems like a very instinctual kind of thing, that it's either, and this is something I just don't know the answer to, of whether or not it is a cultural thing or whether or not there's something biological to it, because it does seem pretty consistent in most cultures around the world. I don't see, even in history, a lot of deviation from that. Even as far back as I can, recall, it always seems to be the guy that has to be the provider and the one to make the first move in most circumstances. So,
okay.
With that all said, I think it's not as much of a media thing, but I think there's something. I think it's and like I said, I'll say it again. I don't know if it's cultural or if it's biological, but I'm not seeing a connection to the media personally.
Okay.
To add on kind of to what you said, the media will kind of reflect what they think we want to see or what generally people want to see. Because if you think about it, yes, a lot of canon couples in series like Married with Children and That 70s Show, they have all those conflicting relationships, because if we just saw everyone get along and be happy all the time, that wouldn't be a very interesting show if you think about it. It'd be a very healthy representation of a relationship, but it wouldn't be as interesting to watch. That's probably why I like Jackie so much, but it's because she's kind of like a caricature in her own rights. Cartoony, and you can't take it seriously. Like, she knows she's vain, she knows she's spoiled, she's rich, she's entitled, but it's because she just wears it all on her sleeve, like, yep, I'm ridiculous and I don't care, that makes you go like, she's hilarious, I love her.
But that's another thing, though, is I mean, we keep coming back to That 70s Show, but I'd say it's a very realistic portrayal of what people are like. We all know That 70s Show is one of those characters that just about every normal person will be able to pick out any one of those characters somewhere in their life. Jackie was, I would say, I don't know if I could put a number to it, but I'm going to safely say most of the girls I knew in high school. There was also certainly a lot of Kelsos and Hydes.
Oh, Kelso, yeah. There's a lot of Kelsos in the world.
Yeah, and I'm very sorry to anybody listening if you don't happen to know all these characters, but that was one of those things. Friendship is Magic is another one of those things where you can probably name any one of those characters in your real life because of how realistically they're portrayed. People act like that. I have known people that are unironically Jackie. I mean, shoot, Heather, your sisters kind of fit the bill. No offense.
Hey, the difference between her and them is that Jackie's funny.
Yeah, but that's when it's on TV, it's funny because it's disconnected from you. That's why like if we go back to Friendship is Magic and you see somebody like Zephyr Breeze, I couldn't laugh at Zephyr Breeze like everybody else was laughing at Zephyr Breeze, especially when that aired and I was dealing with people that I had like 5 Zephyr Breezes in my life at that time, and I'm watching Zephyr Breeze do him, and I'm sitting there going,
you just want to punch them all.
Yeah, I want to grab Zephyr Breeze by the ankles and use him as a battering ram against all the other people in my life that act just like him. Like, I can't laugh at it because it's too close to home.
I know. I hate Vape Smoke so much. He's literally, he might be my most hated character. I call him Vape Smoke. Zephyr Breeze.
I love that.
Yeah, he may be my most hated character in any media ever.
Really?
Yeah, is fucking Vape Smoke. But yeah, I'll concede that it's the culture made the thing happen. And the reason I want to concede is so that we can get back to the idea of whether it was culture or the media that's responsible. I want to get back to the idea of like these harmful ideas that get put into young people's heads. You were talking about incel culture, and yeah, it really sucks because we were getting to a point earlier where we were talking about how you just need to be yourself and really work on yourself and just becoming a full realized person. It wasn't until my late 20s until I realized, okay, I've got to stop trying to find a girlfriend, and I have to just be happy with myself. I just have to like who I am and enjoy my life. And so I finally took the advice and stopped looking for someone. And I found somebody, and rather I should say somebody found me while I was not looking. It worked. Just focusing on myself, becoming my own person, and caring about what made me happy and what made the people around me happy is what led someone to finally ask me out, and we're married now. That's how I found my spouse.
Yay!
Is by not looking. Yeah, like it actually works. Just work on yourself. Just worry about you. Just worry about who you are and what you want, and that's so much better. Like, large romantic gestures are stupid. They're so dumb. Small romantic gestures are everything. They're absolutely everything. And here's the thing. You can only make small romantic gestures when there's a romance. You can only make large romantic gestures when there's a romance. There has to actually be attraction between two people and a romance occurring. You can't just invent it out of thin air by doing some kind of large romantic action, which is what media teaches young men that you should do. But if you just work on yourself and become your own person, like, the idea that the love of your life will fall into your lap can and does happen. Maybe you'll have to be proactive and go out and try to meet people. Maybe it'll fall into your lap, but whatever the method is of you finding that person who's meant for you, it doesn't matter ultimately what it takes, because the more important thing is that you become a fully realized person yourself. And that's what I want people to get out of this debate, because that's the life advice that made me better. And it made me better without having someone. Like, I didn't need my spouse to find me to be better. I became better. And that was enough.
I have something I want to add on to that I'm going to need Heather's help for. But before I do that, I want to know if DJ has any thoughts.
I really can't comment on that.
Alrighty then. So, Heather, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to, but I kind of, to add on to his point, I might ask you to air out a little bit of your dirty laundry, because you've told me some stories of before you and I were dating, on dates that you had been on, and of people just being ridiculous. Like, I think, did you tell me? Did you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I want to hear at least one of these stories. But I think one of them was something. A guy like took you out to a parking lot and just started doing donuts with you in the car.
Yes.
So I know you've got a couple of these, but let's start with that one.
Look,
Media told him to do that. Media told him to do that. Large romantic gesture. He thought he would look cool, and you would want to have sex with him because of that.
In hindsight, I feel kind of bad with how all that went. I was going on OkCupid for a while because I'm like, I want to get out there. I want to meet people.
Yeah, before we end the stream tonight, I'm going to trash on all things online dating. But go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, like you didn't just get a relationship from that. Anyhow. This one guy sounded really great on paper or on the app. He was a student in engineering. He was almost set to graduate. We had some similar interests in Marvel movies and stuff like that. And we went on a few dates. What I didn't like is we go through that first awkward date of just saying, "Hi, yeah, what are you into?" And I'm like, "Hi, yeah, I like to cook and doing all that shit." But the second date is where things kind of got annoying because I was starting to get into my actual interests. I was just like, "Oh yeah, I like cartoons and I like these particular games, this and that." And he would just respond to everything like, "That's so weird. No, that's so weird. That's so weird." And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Fucking NPC.
Not everything I like is weird. I mean, I know I'm pretty weird, but Jesus, you don't have to keep saying it. And there was at one point, he talked about it previous in the day, and I think it was to get me interested in the content. He's like, yeah, sometimes I just like to go into a parking lot and do donuts in my car, and it felt like someone scripted him to say that too. Like it was kind of awkward, and I was just like, "Oh, that's cool. I guess guys like car stuff."
He was following the script. Oh my god.
He didn't have like a hot rod car. Like it wasn't a shitty car or anything, but it was like a normal SUV. I forget what kind.
An SUV. He was doing donuts in an SUV. You are fortunate that you're alive. That he didn't flip that thing.
I know. We went through a walk in the park. He takes us into the.
Are you sure it was an SUV? He did donuts in a central suspension vehicle. Bronny,
I'm pretty sure it was because
this man almost killed Heather. Car. He was doing donuts in a central suspension vehicle.
I know, right?
Could have died.
You remember my Trailblazer? Could you imagine if I tried to do a donut in that thing? I would have rolled the sucker.
Yeah, you would have rolled 10 times. Oh
For a while, I thought he was just gonna drive us out of this parking lot like normal, and he just has the blankest look on his face. He's like, "I gotta do it. I gotta do a couple donuts, okay? And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I just stood there, blank face, as we did a couple donuts. They weren't as crazy as you thought. It was just kind of awkward. It's like a weird.
Because he probably didn't know how to do them right.
Rides. I know, and I was just like, "This is weird." And he drove me back to the mall, and then he left. But no, I went to the bathroom. He took me to Barnes and Noble. I was just like, "Oh, cool, books." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back." And he's like, "Okay." I come back. I look around the store, and he's fucking gone. And he messaged me later, like, "I thought that was your sign telling me to leave." And I was just like, "No, what the fuck?" In hindsight, I realized he was probably embarrassed by what the fuck just happened.
You know something else though is he's probably been on other dates where they would do that and then just disappear. So now he understands that as the sign of the date is over, because I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then disappear out the other side of the mall or disappear out the window, and you're gonna be sitting here waiting for me.
That. Yeah, my brother-in-law brought that up to me. He's like, "Oh yeah, other girls probably did that to him on dates, and that's probably why he did it." Like, I get that, but I legitimately just went to go pee.
Which, by the same token, is probably something they learned from a TV show.
Yeah, it's weird. Yep. That a lot of my OkCupid stuff was weird, and then other people would put pressure on me for stuff. I remember some dates were simple. I went out with a guy, and we were gonna see a Batman movie or something. And I was going to wear a Batman shirt. And my mom was like, "You can't wear a t-shirt on a date." And I'm like, "But we're going to..." She dressed me up in a blouse. And I'm like, "Sucks."
I march to the beat of my own drum, babe. I do what feels right.
Freaking, yeah, there was a lot of forced affection. I think I have an old photo booth of a guy I tried a few dates with through OkCupid as well. And, some of them just really try to force the gestures. One guy, we went to go see a Marvel movie, and he had his hand on my thigh the entire movie. Very awkward.
Wow.
Who wrote that one?
Not follow up, Heather. Because it plays our story is very closely to what Cordero was talking about. So, from my perspective, I certainly wasn't in a position to be dating when Heather and I started dating. She definitely did make the first move, and when I started getting the sense that she might be interested in me, and I'm like, there's no frickin' way, not me, not now. My name is Chris Farley. I'm 34 years old, I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river. That's where I was at when Heather started flirting with me.
You were 34.
Well, that's beside the point, Heather. So,
you were 44.
Yeah.
You're still a young 52 these days.
Yeah, so Heather, tell your side of that story. Or, as much as you feel like, I don't know.
I did hesitate for a while, though. Not because, I was growing a lot as a person when we were coming together. I was really coming into my own. I was still kind of I'd like to date people thing. But I was just I got to get my life together. I was already trying to make steps into being healthier. I wanted out of my freaking family's place because that was a mess. And you were being a very supportive friend and, helping me a lot when I needed it, even though you weren't really in the position to do so. And that's also that's what I'm getting to is I was hesitant because of the position you were in, that you weren't didn't want to have to deal with that at that point in time. And I'm like, are you hesitating because of that, or because you're afraid of like screwing up your friendship? Because that's always a freaking battle you have with yourself. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna say it, and I'm gonna say like, hey, there's no pressure to engage in this if you don't want to. But then when I went forward through it, I was just like, so what would you like to do about this? Keeping it open. He's like, what would you like to do about this? And I'm like, shh, come on. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to do all the steps here. It's like, I would like for you to be my boyfriend. Would you like that? And he was like, yes, I would like that. I'm like, okay, you're my boyfriend now.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But from my perspective, I was just trying to work on myself. I had just moved to Florida and I was couch surfing because I can't hold down a job to save my freaking life. And then I was even when like I started getting the idea like, oh, she's kind of giving me some signs here. I was like, no, I can't let that happen. I am not in a good, that is the worst. Like Heather, if you had been my friend and you were like, hey, I'm interested in Brony, where I was at that point, I would have been like, no, the frick you're not. You do not want the guy who doesn't even have a stable place to live. I'm pretty, and can't hold down a job. Yeah, I think your family said something to the effect of, if you date Brony, you're going to end up taking care of him for the rest of his life. Is that something like that?
Jeez, that's some dirty line. Freaking.
Hot homeless
But I
men
think
in your
everyone
area.
on my side saw it coming, because even though I was saying for a while, no, it's not like that. It like whenever I wasn't around you, I was talking about you, and like when I would go up to people, it's like, so guys, this thing happened. The first, like I told my friend Juanita this. I go to her house and I'm like, yeah, like so. Anyways, I did a thing, and she goes like, you started dating Brony, didn't you? I'm like, how the fuck did you know?
Yeah. So that's
unpredictable, I guess. I'm very. People can just tell. It's like when you
So
like someone. Heather,
yeah,
we all
but
know
I
about
sure as heck wasn't trying to look for a date, especially coming off of where I was in life and coming off of the previous relationships I'd had. So that the only serious one I had before you was like that whole thing turned out to be a farce. So now I was in a position where I don't know what was real, so I sure as heck am not looking. So the moral of the story here between Heather, myself, Cordero is, just don't look for it. And maybe something will happen, right? You just got to remove all expectations and let things happen naturally.
Yeah, to be fair with you, I think I recalled you saying at some point before we were an item that you're like, yeah, I'll never make the first move on a girl again. I'll wait for the other way around, because the last time I did that, I was wrong. So I was just like, oh yeah, if I want this to happen, I really do have to do it myself.
Yeah, because that's what I thought was going on the first time, and then let me see. Then there was only one other girl that I had tried to ask out. And Cordero knows this person. All I'll say is Simon and Garfunkel wrote a song about her, and fell into the same trap. And she kind of had me tricked into thinking that we liked each other, and that ended horribly. So I'm like, okay, nope, hands off. I obviously have no idea how to read people or what's going on, so I'm just not gonna do it. Because this is only gonna get worse as I get older. And I was pretty at peace with frankly my own death at that point. I was confident beyond a shadow of a doubt. I was not gonna make it through that situation. So the last thing I wanted to do was drag you into it, Heather, and I still to this day worry about that.
Well, I'm sorry that it didn't work out with you and Mrs. Robinson.
Yep.
I'm not.
Well,
that was a great joke.
That was a great joke, and it's lost on everybody here.
People over 50 loved that joke. Let me tell you.
Oh God, don't make me laugh. I'm still sore from core day.
Yeah, you should have been there on Wednesday, Cordero at the workout. Heather did really freaking good. But now she's paying for it physically. Anyway, DJ, do you have any thoughts externally, from the outside looking in on everything that we've talked about?
It's a lot to take in as someone who's only had one relationship and it failed twice.
Goodness.
Oh.
Bruh.
Well, then you had 2 relationships.
It was the same person.
But
it's
no,
still
it's 2 for the price
separate
of 1. If it
relationships.
stops
counts.
and then it restarts, they're separate ones.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it.
It's like if you have leftover lasagna and you eat half of it one day and the other half the other day, that counts as
Still
2
2
separate meals.
Still, ended the same way.
Was she as good as reheated pizza?
I wouldn't really know.
Was it as good as like taking one lasagna and stacking it on top of another lasagna to just make a bigger lasagna?
The more kind of just it existed.
Are you saying you dated a fat girl?
I mean, she was larger than normal, but not. I wouldn't say fat.
Oh shit! I was kidding.
It wasn't a very affectionate relationship.
That's unfortunate. That's very.
Big girls are really good at hugging.
She did not like physical contact so much.
She's wasting her potential.
Big girls are really good at chugging ice cream.
Stop.
Alrighty then. So, something else I'm gonna talk about here because this is Brony debates. So I'm gonna talk about. Yeah, I can talk. I went to college. So I'm gonna talk about friendship is magic a little bit.
How dare you?
There was a comic arc. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 issues of the IDW run called Nay Anything. It talked about how Cadence and Shining Armor got together. And
I love that one.
I read this.
Yeah, that was a great one because Cadence was fawning over him the whole time, and you had like the jock guy that had this typical like I'm the jock, so I'm meant to be the winner here, and that means I'm going to get the girl at the end by virtue of me being the jock. And then there was Shining Armor who's like, I need to do all the big gestures, right? And what was hilarious is that it was plain as day to everybody that wasn't Shining Armor that you didn't need to do anything. If you just talk to Cadence, that would have been just fine.
Yep, I remember that.
and he's doing all this crazy stuff and getting himself into trouble, and Cadence is just like, yeah, I like that guy. And
I loved it. Like, the thing was, wasn't that he had a hard time even talking to her. Like, it was just nonsense that would come out of his freaking mouth.
Oh yeah, that was the first time he talked to her. I think it was. Oh geez.
You're right. Linkara did do a video on this few issues. It was hilarious.
Oh, did he? I'll have to check that out.
It was adorable.
Well,
yeah, he did it on this one and the deer.
Wow. Well, I mean,
I liked the concept of the deer.
Linkara is one of those few things that's more cringe than Bronies. Unfortunately, like it's a short list, but he's on it.
Well, that's the whole, that guy with the glasses cast.
Yeah.
was really
He's not with them anymore.
He turned out to be too cringe for that guy with the glasses. I'm not kidding.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's hard to watch his stuff.
I still watch it.
That's fine. I can't talk. I still watch Nostalgia Critic sometimes.
Same.
Yeah.
He still makes stuff? Holy shit,
yes,
I fell off.
Oh yeah.
And I don't hate it. I enjoy it. You know what's the best thing on Channel Awesome?
What was it from the fanscription?
Fanscription.
Did you finish the Batman one?
Yes, I did. Fanscription is unironically good. All of the people who are still at Channel Awesome that are not Doug Walker are actually very talented, and they're actually really good script writers. And
Doug's
they're
not even as bad as he used to be.
Yeah, they're fan-made. They take movies like, what if this movie happened this way instead of the way it was released? And they write a script based on that premise, and it's really good. Like, I wish Fanscription was its own channel, because, like, that's the best thing on there, and it's like the least watched thing on there, but I'm so happy it exists.
Oh, this is reminding me of how it should have ended, that animated series.
Kind of, but like whole movie instead of just the ending.
Harriman
Yeah,
says because a lot of them went cringe over the years. Here's the thing: is that they were all cringe. They just never got any better. It's not that they became cringe; it's that they never got any better. But
a lot of good channels start cringe, but then they learn how to make content and evolve. Exactly.
Do we have anything else we want to talk on, or should we get into audience participation?
It's the last 10 minutes, but I had something to say about the comics that I can't remember. Other than they were very cute. But I liked at the end, Cadence was like, oh yeah, I'm an independent woman and I can take initiative. And she did.
Nice.
And everything was solved forever. Like, she didn't have to fall into the tropes if she didn't want to, but at some point it felt like she didn't realize that. Like, she was trying to get Shining to do the right, to do what he was supposed to do, in the script of this thing, but freaking at the end she's just like, all right, and I'm like, yes, finally.
And somehow child Twilight Sparkle remained oblivious despite helping Cadence out in that story so that she could be blindsided by the wedding at the end of season 2.
She's like 5. She probably didn't remember crap.
Yeah.
The only real thing I remember out of that comic is apparently Quantum Leap is canon to this universe.
Can I say, Brony, like, you're freaking, you're going on about cringe channel awesome. It's making me think of that astronaut meme of, like, the astronaut looking at the planet.
Always
and it's like the freaking astronauts go like, it's always been cringe, and you're like, it always has been.
Yep. Oh wait, it's all cringe. It always has been. Freaking. So there is one more aspect of relationships that I want to bring up. How many people do we know that was like they were dating and everything was perfectly fine, and then the second they got married, everything went sour? And I think there's a TikTok or something floating around. It's been around for a few years, and it's probably a skit, but the mother goes, I don't cook, I don't clean, let me tell you how I got this ring. And then the daughter is off screen and goes, because you acted nice until you got married and then you showed your true colors. And yeah, the facade drops. I bet you we all know at least one person or one couple that's gone through that. Is that a result of culture or media, or is it just plain being deceptive up until you don't feel like you need to wear the mask anymore? What do you guys think about that?
I think that you go first.
Sorry. I haven't personally experienced that, or even really experienced that with anyone that I know. I know that meme and that trope, but I don't know anyone who's experienced that where like they got married and then it was like, oh, this is what I'm really like. I'm sure that happens, but I think that's more of a trope than it is reality. I don't know, but all I have is anecdotal evidence for that. I've never actually seen that. Usually people are similar before they're married and similar after they're married.
Heather, what do you think?
I would make the observation that might be more common in short-term relationships that move too quickly. How there's people that propose after 6 months, and then it's like, after we married, you completely changed. Yeah, because you only knew them for 6 months. It was still the honeymoon phase. They were still on their best behavior, but then they let it all down. And if you think about it, with longer relationships, that's harder to pull, because take me and Brony's relationship. How many years are we going on now?
6.
6? Yeah. If I'm pulling a freaking facade, I am putting way too much effort into it to change now. He lives with me. There's nothing I can surprise him with in terms of my freaking personality. Yeah. So I think that'd be more common with quick-paced relationships where the facade would be easier to hold. And if you think about it, someone being deceptive is probably aiming for that kind of thing, especially if it's a stereotypical gold digger woman just showing her best to get the man in the bag and then maybe get pregnant so that even if he divorces her, she has something to hold on to him and can keep getting money from him. It's and that's
maybe you have to have money for that trope to play out. Or at least
you probably do. I mean, what else are you gonna do it for?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I don't count all the years you guys were apart as part of your relationship. As far as I'm concerned, Heather was Brony's imaginary girlfriend that he made up to tell us he had a girlfriend until you magically showed up. Then you were real.
Plot twist: Heather's been
I
a
was
tulpa
about
this
to
whole
say,
time.
like,
Heather's been a
I sure
tulpa
hope
this
you
whole
think I'm
time.
real.
They're still not real.
Yeah.
We're
If
all
I'm not real, who made you your cookies?
Heather's
we're
my
all hallucinating. Heather. Brony made the cookies.
Heather is my stand. She's a manifestation of my psychic powers.
That's a
The
good
handle!
manga. You should write it. Write that manga.
Ugly anime.
Good premise.
Oh geez, it's been done. Yeah, that type of thing. All right, let's get into audience participation here. Neo says the best wholesome couples is Evangeline and Perseidal. I don't know either of these things, and I'm
Evangelion.
Like Evangelion?
it might be. No offense, Neo, but you have a history of spelling things really badly, so I have no idea if this is actually the correct spelling or what you're referring to. Anyway, he just says she went to hell and back to save him, had kids, fight a demon joker with a baby inside her, and then given birth to the new gods. Does anybody know what he's talking about?
I don't know, man. This sounds like a fever dream.
A Wakfu reference? I searched that and I get Wakfu.
Oh, I haven't watched that.
Yeah, I have no idea either. Vulpecula says, I had a girlfriend when I was 17. It lasted 7 months. She and I are still friends, and she's married now and has a daughter. I still miss her, but I will not get in the way of their marriage. Good man, that's really all you can do.
Yeah, like there's always the trope that's like, no, if you love someone, you have to pursue them no matter what. No, actually, sometimes they don't, because if they wanted to be with you, if they're a regular sane adult, they would have tried to be with you at this point. But if you see they're living their best life and maybe it's with someone else, if you really love them, you'd leave them be.
All you need is a big romantic gesture, and then they'll fall in love with you.
Yeah, and then they'll leave their husband and their child just to go make another one with you.
Yeah, now
Exactly.
remember, kids, if they'll cheat with you, they'll cheat on you.
You're just writing a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, you know, it's not hard. An AI could write this shit.
True.
Probably already has.
Yeah, that's something we
it
really
has.
didn't talk a lot about tonight, is how common all of these horrible things are in Hallmark movies.
Oh yeah.
Well, who's actually watched a Hallmark movie?
I don't think I have.
I haven't either. They always look bad.
I've
never-
tried to, and they've been some of the cringiest things, and I wasn't able to finish them.
You can't sit through them.
You know, they get parodied a lot on, you know, Twitter. Like there was one who's like, hey, romantic Hallmark movie tropes be like, you know, the villain is like, sorry, babe, I can't drop everything last minute and spend this weekend with you. I got to go close a $10 million business deal that'll save us, you know, that'll set us up for the rest of our lives and we'll never have to work again. And then the protagonist love interest is just some dude in a flannel shirt that, you know, was from her hometown or something like that. Let's see here. Paladin Pony T says, wait, was that Brawny's real name just now? Yes, that was my real name. My name is Chris Farley. Look me up on Google. Actually, no, that wasn't my real name. My real name is Matt Foley. You can look that up on Google too, right? And now that I've successfully doxed myself as the man in the van down by the river, Paladin Pony's other question was, can you guys tell us some more funny dating stories, please? Cordero, do you have any funny dating stories?
Yeah. The one I was alluding to is basically my partner Jack. We knew each other for several months before we started dating, and it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm pretty sure this person is into me, like, because remember, this is the time where I'm working on myself. I just want to be happy with my life, and I'm not looking for anyone. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this person is into me. I'm picking up all the signs. This is what I'm reading, but I'm like, but there's a chance that they're not, and I don't want to deal with rejection, so I'm just going to ignore it. And my spouse literally confronted me at a Wawa, and when we were there with all of our friends, like our whole friend group was there, and everybody knew except for me. Everyone knew except for me. They're all deliberately somewhere else and not near us. And Jack is just like, hey, I like you and stuff. Do you want to like go out and then awkwardly sips drink, and then I awkwardly sip my drink and go, oh, yeah, I like you too. Let's go out. And then we both awkwardly sipped our drink. And then everyone and then we went back to everyone and we're like, okay, we're dating now. And then everyone was like, fucking finally!
Man, I wish I had that reaction when me and Brony started dating, because I know a lot of people saw this coming. Most of all, Sweetie Bloom saw it coming, and then finally we get in front of her because we kept it secret because I wanted to surprise her. And I go up like, hey, Sweetie, watch this, and I kissed Brony on the side of the head, and she's just like, that's good, dear, that's good. That's was nice. Like, why weren't you super excited? I thought you'd be super happy. She goes like, Heather, I'm a balloon and you expected me to pop. I deflated because, by God, this was exhausting.
Sweetie Bloom.
It's a matter of time.
Here's a fun one for you guys. Sweetie Bloom tricked us into being a couple, right? Because it used to be the group. It was me, Heather, Sweetie Bloom, and our other friend Louie. And the four of us would hang out and we would watch Marvel movies. And then at some point in time, Sweetie Bloom decided that Heather and I should be together. And then she would just find excuses to not be there. So Heather and I would end up doing everything alone. And that's probably what got the ball rolling. So that's something to think about there. DJ, do you have any funny dating stories?
Nope, my dating life was absolutely boring.
I'm sorry.
Frick. I probably have an interesting, just my first real relationship.
Better than donuts?
I say real, it's a high school relationship, so that's as real as those are. My first date in the physical world was at a Wiener Schnitzel. For you East Coast people who don't know, Wiener Schnitzel is a fast food restaurant that serves chili dogs and chili cheese fries, and it's pretty good. And I'm really pissed you don't have it over here. But yeah, I actually agreed to this date over Facebook with someone I knew I was going to school with, but spoiler alert, I couldn't actually remember who they were. They just messaged me and it's like, hey Heather, how have you been since middle school? And I'm like, I've been okay. And they said, I've actually liked you. Would you like to go on a date with me? And me being a teenager being like, I don't actually remember who this is, but I'm not going to say that. I want to go on a date. And I was just like, okay. I went there and it was, I recognized them, and then I just pretended oh yeah, I totally knew it was you the whole time, totally. Now, if you had asked me, Heather, would you have agreed to that date if you had known who you actually agreed to go on a date with? I might have been probably, maybe. I wanted to be, I didn't even care. I just wanted to go on a date. I just wanted to have a boyfriend. That's what I wanted to do.
Damn. Because media told you needed it.
I dated him for maybe the first 2 weeks of high school. I don't remember. I think this was maybe it was junior year. I think it was junior year. Or no, was it sophomore? I don't remember. But yeah, I dated this guy for 2 weeks, and then he broke up with me because he was super stressed about a Cub Scouts meeting or an Eagle Scouts meeting. I don't remember. What? And at this point, I was just like, okay, I went on one date and he gave me candy, and this is lame. I don't like him anymore. So I was just like, okay, break up with me. And then he tried to come back and be like, hey, it's over. I want to date again. And I'm like, no, you broke up with me and I don't want you anymore. And then it was just, it was annoying. My mom got kind of miffed with me. She's like, why don't you take him back? He's sad. He's sending you sad text messages. I'm like, but I don't like him. He's lame. And then I dated another guy. And then, yay. Fun fact, the first two guys I ever dated, they're both named Matt.
Well then.
I dated a lot of Matts.
All Matts.
Heather,
Matts.
Do you have any... Because I'm too oblivious to know the answer to this question. I kind of want to know what you think. Have you and I been on any dates that you would call funny? Mm-hmm. Do you have are there any funny stories from any of our dates that you could tell?
I think there's one that you like to tell over and over again about how you almost let me step on a freaking rat.
Oh,
there you go.
I remember that one.
You gotta tell this now.
I think I've told it before on the stream, but
I wasn't on it because I don't remember.
All right. So we're up at BronyCon, and I
Was that
think
the
it
one
was,
I was at? Was that 2018?
it was 18, I think. It was 2018.
What's the one I went to? Did I go to 18 or 19 with you?
19.
Okay, the last one. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I was at the last one.
Yeah, so BronyCon 2019. 18. But anyway, we're walking around. We had just gotten done having a really nice steakhouse dinner. But we're walking around Baltimore. And if you guys don't know what Baltimore is like, it's scuzzy. It's a third world country. Okay? So, like...
I went to Baltimore. It's a standard downtown metropolis. That's what I experienced.
Oh, geez.
It didn't seem much worse than Atlanta to me, but I mean, maybe I just didn't get stabbed. And
I mean,
lucky.
shoot,
I don't
when
know.
last time I was there, dude flashed his gun at me, and I'm just thinking to myself, son, don't do that. I have one too. But anyway, so anyway, it's a scuzzy, rat-infested hellhole, Baltimore, and we're walking down the street, heading back, I think, to the convention center, and we're, we got our arms around each other, and all of a sudden this big old rat, like the size of my foot rat, runs right across Heather, like a few feet in front of us, and she freaks out because it's a rat. And
I think my expression was like, "Oh my god, that's the biggest rat I've ever seen."
yeah, so something like that. And then I go, yeah, it's almost as big as the one you're about to step on, because just another couple of feet in front of that as we were walking was another rat that had been completely pancaked into the pavement. Like it got hit by a car and then probably got run over by a few more cars in the time that it's been there since this afternoon. Right? Like it was a fresh rat. And she screeches, ah! And like jumps like up into the air. And I thought that was the funniest freaking thing. And I started dying laughing, and she started beating the frick out of me in the middle of this Baltimore street.
And so yeah, me punching Brownie has just always been a formula for the relationship.
Oh, it's just like in the fairy tales. Oh,
Oh.
love it.
And yeah, I've made fun of her a lot for that. Emerald Spencer says it doesn't technically count as a date story because I wasn't there. I don't know what that means. What do you...
Is Emerald Spencer implying that he's been on every single date, or it's not an official date unless he's with you?
God, that's the most awkward third wheel ever.
Oh my god, that reminds me of something I have to tell the chat.
Well, he also says, tell them about the thigh smack. I don't know about the... I don't remember the thigh smack.
I was gonna tell that story right.
Okay, tell...
We went to a local sandwich place. It was me, Brony, and Spencer. We were eating, and we just go home. And me and Brony are being a little too cutesy in the car. Like, we're whatever. So he slaps his hand on my thigh. I slap my hand on Brony's thigh. And in the back seat, we just hear a slap as Emerald slaps his hand down on his own thigh. So it was just like... It's like the ultimate third wheel move.
Also, Brony, you misread what he wrote.
Huh? What did
Emerald said it doesn't technically count as a date because he was there.
Oh, because
I
he
was there.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah. He's talking about the thigh smack story. It doesn't count as a date story because he was third wheel in it, but it's still hilarious.
Oh, we were defaming Spencer. We were saying the opposite.
I like.
Well, we can blame
funny.
my undiagnosed dyslexia for that one.
There we go.
Yeah.
Emerald can officially say Emerald's gonna freaking yuck it up and be like, yeah, guys, you're not in a relationship or doing anything romantic unless I say so. I am the judge of this relationship because I'm physically closest to it.
He's just the dating lifeguard.
So
like...
I got a funny story that I could tell from before Heather, if that's all right. But my first girlfriend, and we met at an out-of-state kickboxing competition. Like we both went there to compete, and that's where we met.
You met in the ring.
Oh, geez, no. But are you kidding me? She was like 5'2", 130 pounds when I knew her. It's a massacre. Anyway, so we kept in touch.
Yeah, you don't stand a chance.
We kept in touch for a while. We were friends for same thing with Heather. I was friends with her for a few years before we actually started dating. And then, so it was a little bit long distance for a while, but nothing too bad. But then I moved to Florida for college, and it was very long distance. And then, so she came down to visit for a couple of weeks at one point in time. And she goes and takes a shower. And I'm like, you know what would be hilarious? If I scared her as she was coming out of the shower. So,
wow, you're an idiot.
So, well,
Yep.
she's fully clothed, okay. But anyway, so when I hear the jets turn off, and I stand by the door and you wait for her to get dressed, and she comes out and walks past me, and I just kind of like give her a little bit of a jump scare, right? Like I just went ha like that, and I grabbed her by the ribs, and she freaks out. And but here's the thing: is like I said, she was a fighter. She
got kicked.
She throws her elbow straight back, nails me in the solar plex, completely knocks the wind out of me, and I fall forward on top of her. And she holds me up for a second and goes, "What are you doing? Get off of me!" Throws the elbow back again, and she swore for this as long as I knew her, she was aiming for my gut. That's not what she freaking hit. So here I am singing soprano now, and not able to stand on my own 2 feet anymore, but I'm way bigger than she is. So I completely fall on her. She falls and slams her head into the floor, and now she's got a rug burn on her forehead for the rest of the vacation. And once again, I thought this was the funniest thing ever. And she did not. And that's why it didn't work.
Well,
Only one thing to say.
That sounded like an utter disaster.
It does sound like a disaster. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Bryan's come up to me a few times, and my reaction has more or less been the same, but with less disastrous results. I usually just punch him really hard.
Yeah, a lot of things I do end with me getting punched.
He likes it. Have you seen this guy? He's really into it.
This one time we were messing around we were at my family's house in New York, and she caught me off guard and just punched me really hard in the cheek. And I was like, "Ooh, that was a good hit." And she's like, "Oh my god!" Like she thought she hurt me.
I thought he was gonna dodge. Like I remember this too. Like I punched him thinking I would miss or like he'd block it, but I legit got it, and I was just like, "Oh, what the hell?"
Yep. Heather's very strong. She is naturally strong. When she gets good at fighting, she's going to be dangerous.
I know. I've experienced.
Assuming I'm not already.
Yeah. Vulpecula says, "Brony, what are we going to do with you, Heather? Watch him."
Heather, watch him. Heather's probably going to end up killing him on accident with how I go about.
Clayton Hess says, "Now that's a great punchline." Yeah, I'm don't take very much advice from me, guys. I'm bad at this, okay? Most of my stories end with me getting punched.
I guess that's why he likes it. You had to learn to like it because, that's just inevitably how things would go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what he's into. That's his foreplay.
I think like, I don't know what the word is. I don't know if this is like Freudian or not, but it might very well be because my older brother was so abusive that like I just instinctually equate like physical violence to affection.
Oh.
Or
yeah.
and honesty. Like it's twisted, and I know it's not right, but that subconscious connection is very possibly there. It's the only explanation I have for it.
It totally could be, but you just gotta own it as your own, because no matter what you experience early on in life just shapes your psyche, and there's nothing much you can do about that except try to own up to it and make sure you're only doing it in healthy amounts.
Yeah.
Well, Heather, you know what your role in the bedroom is now.
Can we
All
not?
right, come here, Brony. I'll give you a punch.
But yeah, in all my life, I was like, if someone's trying to hurt me, it means they're being honest with me, and that gives me an opportunity to improve myself. So now I like getting hurt.
Well,
Yeah. Don't be like me, kids.
He's supposed to be vanilla.
That doesn't sound very vanilla.
Paladin Pony C says you make a great punching bag, Brony. Alrighty then. So, hey, you know what I can't believe we didn't talk about tonight? Anime.
Anime has got too many
Tangentially,
romance tropes to like attack, dude. You hear about the umbrella one, you hear about girls just making lunch for you, and it's like it's a whole culture dive we'd have to go through, because I remember watching a few documentaries on the tropes that are in anime and why like high school is a very idealized setting for Japanese anime, because like that's when the romances are most likely to take place. That's why you see a lot of like confessions, because there really isn't like a transitionary period from friend to romantic partner in most situations. It's always like there's someone I admire from afar. Now I give them a gift and ask them to accept it and see if they accept my feelings, and then we can date. There is not a casual dating phenomenon. You gotta just be like all or nothing.
Yeah, and from what I understand of Japanese culture is that they very much have that, like that is what you're supposed to do. There is supposed to be a grandiose show of affection in
large
order,
romantic gesture.
And the confession is a very formal thing, and there's a whole process to it. And it's like what's crazy, what I've heard from people who live in Japan is that everybody there knows it's nonsense and they don't want to do it, but they have to. They're just not
trapped.
Yeah, it's just the way it's always been, and that's how they work in Japan. If something is the way it's always been, regardless of how silly it is, you don't mess with it.
Well then.
And at least like it seems like communications direct with whether or not people want relationships. Like, yeah, we have the tsundere stereotype, but there's also like when they get to that confession, it's like, hey, I love you, I want this to happen. Or like I remember a romance manga I read where the guy just directly said like to a coworker that, you know, they were kind of friendly but nothing deeper than that, said like, hey, would you like to start dating with marriage in mind? Because he knew she was interested in that and wanted to look for a potential wife. Like, that was super direct. Like, if someone went up to me and be like, hey, would you like to start dating with marriage in mind? I'm like, I assume by default when you're dating someone that marriage might be in mind at some point if it goes further than, like, a few months.
Remember we watched the second season of Agretzko, and that whole season was her parents trying to hook her up with a husband?
It was just your mom.
Yeah, trying to arrange it. Like, she's hooking up these guys.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is go meet your future husband. Kind of arrangement.
Arranged marriages. I think like arranged marriages these days are presented more as in blind dating, but your family kind of set it up, as opposed to like maybe friends setting it up for you.
Huh. Yeah, it's
because of course they're not going to get married right away. They're going to date a bit first and then be like, okay, this arranged marriage is going to work. If you're thinking of like, oh yeah, we're your parents and we're saying you're marrying this person and you have to marry that person, that's forced marriage, which is kind of different. Yeah, because it is forced.
Well,
that's what arranged marriages were for.
Yeah, for a while, but these days it very much is not. They're because the adults, of course, have like, you know, if they're adults and they're independent, they're like, no, I'm not going to marry someone I don't want to marry. It's just these days, it's just another form of blind dating.
Oh, so they just like test the waters, basically.
Yeah, like, hey. they do that.
Blind marriage, arranged marriages, as we understand them, or you know, with your gut instinct of what tells you is an arranged marriage, that definitely still happens. It's a lot more. It's a lot more common in Indian and Middle Eastern cultures, but it's not nearly as common as it used to be. So it's still there, and a lot of times it gets really bad. But it's not like even in like I've heard in a lot of cases in like India, they have arranged marriages, but if you yourself decide that, like, you as the couple decide you don't like each other, you can call it off, and there's no real problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like the modern arranged marriage kind of situation. It's like I said, it feels more like blind dating that your parents like set up, as opposed to like maybe your friends setting up a traditional blind date. It's like arranged marriages can still have consent. That's why people these days always make the distinctions. Like this is an arranged marriage, but a forced marriage is an arranged marriage where you don't have the say.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, no one else is being considered in that.
I like that girl. I won't throw acid on her for refusing to marry my brother.
Nice.
Yeah, he's
like,
not wrong. He's not
Never
wrong.
harassed anyone, kids. Acid messes you up.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. That's why they do it.
Emerald Spencer has a great one. You're being married off for 5 sheep and a goat. Deal with it. That's a forced marriage right there.
That's a good dowry. Be happy.
Dude, it's better than my dowry. I ain't got shit.
If
My
I
dowry's
were a
dead.
rich man.
Oh my god, I am that girl. What do you bring to the relationship, Heather? Me, because I have nothing else. I have a cat. Is that a dowry?
Not really. Heather, your cat thinks it's a dog, okay? So it just keeps getting worse.
Some would say that makes it an even better cat.
I don't mean to be rude, but it almost kind of sounds like the discount clearance sale.
Damn.
Yeah, I have a snail. Oh god, it's getting worse.
I don't know. That's French cuisine right there.
Oh god, don't eat my snail. It's a pet.
This is getting weird, so let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Wasn't already?
DJ, just tell us what you learned tonight and give us some closing thoughts.
I'll definitely take away a few extra life lessons today, but I don't know. We kind of fell off media after a while.
Yeah, definitely.
The real modern media and relationships was the friends we made along the way.
Perfect.
In other words, don't trust modern media or any kind of media for relationship tips, people. It's not good.
Yeah, literally
Enjoy
just be
it,
yourself.
No.
I'm gonna say my piece now is and like I've said it before in videos and the way I tend to word it is, that every facade will eventually crack under the weight of its own maintenance. So it's better to just be yourself, because if somebody falls in love with a idealized version of you that's not true, eventually you're not going to be able to keep that mask on anymore. I learned a little while ago that gosh darn it, forgot the guy's name because I'm retarded. Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe author. Somebody help me.
C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis, thank you. I knew it was a Lewis. C.S. Lewis said it way better than that a long time ago. He said, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Be
Well said.
yeah, just be genuine, and don't care about relationships. Like, you got to be zen. You've got to put the idea out of your mind entirely. Just be your natural self, and throw away any expectations you have. And don't be selfish. And if it will be, then it will be, and it's not really something that you can control. And for God's sake, don't date the man who lives in a van down by the river.
That one felt personal.
Yeah, it kind of was. Heather, you have the worst taste in men. This is an established fact.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard some of my stories. I don't make the best decisions, but I'll stick by this one. I'm gonna stand by him.
Cordero, tell us your closing thoughts and one thing you learned tonight.
Well, you actually kind of summed up my closing thoughts pretty well. So I'll just say what I learned tonight is the Bible doesn't look down on premarital sex. It's only against adultery. Therefore, dating couples can have sex with each other and Jesus won't get mad. Take that information with what you will.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
Bruh.
Study the Bible. It's only against adultery, not premarital sex.
I'm pretty sure it... yeah... But also,
technically,
well, yes, but actually no. All right, and I don't have the specific verses off the top of my head here. But if you're Christian, you're not you're supposed to wait until marriage, okay? And you know, statistically speaking, that's the best thing you can do to ensure that you will have a strong, healthy, long-lasting marriage.
That's what Big Bible wants you to
Well,
think.
what if you're not sexually compatible? How will you know?
It's
You gotta find
not
out.
supposed to be about that. Like, yeah, it's a part of, like they say that in the Christian
It is.
ceremonies. They say it's not just a sexual relationship.
It's not just, but
But it
physical
is partially.
compatibility can be very important. And if
It
you're
is
not physically
partially
compatible, there could be a part of your relationship where you're not fulfilled. This isn't me personally trying to get you to commit something you don't want to. I'm just saying that people should like know both perspectives of it. Like, this is a whole other debate we can have. But
All I know is 75% of successful marriages, they were either their only partner or they had less than 3 partners previously.
I think churches make up those stats. They always pull those out. But anyway,
I am not
that wasn't
churning,
tonight's
I am not
debate.
quoting Christian church stats here. These are okay. Anyway, Heather, closing thoughts. One thing you learned.
I learned upon self-reflection, I haven't made a lot of good dating decisions, and in my youth, it seems like I would just take anybody. But I would like to go back and be like, young Heather, you're worth more. You can do better. Don't say yes just because you want something exciting to happen.
Yep, and whatever you do, don't just speak. Well, first of all, speak your mind. Don't be like those chicks in all the TV shows and all the movies that are just passive aggressive and roundabout with what they want, and don't think you can win one over by being cringy and standing outside of their window with a freaking boombox.
Please do not sing to them. I guarantee you're an even worse singer than you think, so do not try to serenade them.
The Boombox movie is called Say
Even if you're a
Anything.
good singer, it is awkward.
It is awkward. It's definitely awkward. Take it for somebody who went to school for music and singing. By the way, that movie with the boombox is called Say Anything.
Yeah, which is
Oh.
what Nay Anything was parodying. Apparently, I've never seen the movie, so I don't know.
I haven't seen it either.
And Heather, that's another thing you're being hypocritical on, because one of the right before we started dating, I did that stupid poorly sung cover of I Believe in a Thing Called Love.
I liked it though. That's why I liked it though. It was cringy and it was off the walls. That's the one exception. And also, you didn't try to serenade me with it. You posted it on your YouTube channel. And I was just like, oh my god, that's that's coincidental.
Alrighty then. All right,
So it doesn't work except when it totally works. Got it.
It doesn't work if you're not trying to make it work. Like, he wasn't trying to serenade me in that. In fact, I was the only person he wasn't trying to serenade. Who's that? Who's knocking?
That's Emerald.
Oh, I'm coming.
Yeah, he wants the door unlocked. I keep forgetting to put the spare key back out there.
LOL.
You guys are getting a close look into my personal life here tonight. I hope you're enjoying it. Be sure to have yourself a wonderful Valentine's Day or Single Awareness Day, whatever you happen to be celebrating this. Go do some grandiose gesture to your crush. Take her out to the Japanese festival in your kimonos and watch the fireworks, and then confess to her. That's the right time to confess to her. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the show. Very grateful to my generous backers on Patreon, especially the $10 and up tier, such as Princess Heather Blossom, who joined us tonight. There's also Shady Oak Ministries, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Senko, DJ Skywalker, who's with us, Rein-Kun, Morningstar Pony Cordero, who's with us, QFlash, Billy Henline, Alden MacManx, EasyModeGamer, Kanto Acrylic VA, Mr. Sonic 31, Ridge the Hedgehog, Alicia Lynette, Zeta Z, and Dark Malcontent, author of the Metaverse series. If you want to join the show, just join up on the Patreon or Subscribe Star. There's a lot of cool perks there. I'm trying to get up to earning, somewhere between $2,500 and $3,000 a month. Last month on Patreon, I made $600, so we're like, I don't know, 1/5 of the way there. Something. I'm bad at math. Anyway, I hope to see you all again. Hey, is Heather back at the computer yet? I gotta ask her.
Yes, I am.
All right, so Heather, are we streaming tomorrow?
Yes, indeedly doodle. We just got to get back from the Ren Fair at a decent amount of time.
Yeah, what time do we stream?
We stream at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, and we're going to have some Renaissance Fair stories for you, so tune into that. All right, say goodnight, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.